If your soil sucks, then your plant might die. And then if your plant dies, then you're gonna feel like it's your fault. And if you feel like it's your fault, you might never buy a plant again. We can't have that. I get asked a lot, what type of soil do I recommend? So I thought I would put together a really quick video for someone who may just be starting out with their plant journey or just wants like a super simple mixture, like an all-purpose general mixture of soil that is going to retain moisture but not too much of it, allow good airflow for your plant's roots, and hopefully set you up for success so that you can buy more plants in the future. So is there a brand of potting soil that is just good and you can just go in and grab it off the shelf and use it? I'm gonna say no. I have a quick fix for you. I'm gonna show you some examples and explain to you why you should not just use the soil off of the shelf, why there are some amendments that you need to add into that to ensure the health of your plant. If I had to pick a specific bagged potting soil, I'm gonna tell you to use the Cactus Palm and Citrus potting mix. I think it's a good soil, but there are some things that we need to add to that to make it even better. The ingredients that are in this: sphagnum peat moss, sand, perlite. There is some fertilizer in here, and then it says a wetting agent. I don't know what that means, but so maybe you're like, why do I need to have a fast draining soil? What is that? What having a fast draining soil is important. It's allowing the water to go into the pot, saturate the organic or inorganic matter that is around the plant's roots, holding that moisture, but also not compacting around the roots. The roots need oxygen to survive. If you are using a soil or a potting medium that is not allowing proper airflow to those roots, they're gonna compact and it's gonna basically suffocate the roots. And that's where overwatering happens. You're actually drowning your plant. Unintentionally, usually. I mean, obviously, I don't think anybody intentionally drowns their plant. And that's why I always tell people that if you can get your soil right, it's going to make the biggest difference in your plant journey. Also, I want you to just keep in mind that every plant is different. Every genus of plant, every family of plant has different requirements. So it's really important that you do some research on the plants that you're caring for to make sure that the soil is proper for that plant. And what I mean by that, there are some plants that like to stay moist. There are some plants that like to dry completely out before you water them again. And then there's some plants that can handle like an in-between. I'm gonna show you this soil straight from the bag and what it looks like so you kind of know what to expect. Already when I'm looking at this, I can tell that it's different than your typical potting soil. There are some chunks of organic matter in here. You can see it looks a little bit more flakier than what a normal potting soil looks like. There's like some pieces in here, but I do not feel like this is enough. There's definitely some things that you want to add to this to make it even more aerated. I tell people to do is I tell them to grab them a bag of this potting soil and then also grab a bag of the orchid bark. I like the Better Grow orchid bark because the pieces are more chunky, and make sure that I link all of these ingredients that I use in the show notes below. I use this for my personal plants, and I also use this for the soil that I make and sell. Do a 50-50 mixture. So 50% soil, 50% orchid bark, and I feel like my math is going to be wrong here because I also want you to add some perlite. I like the more coarse, chunky kinds, the kinds that they sell at like Lowe's and Home Depot. They work well, but they're a lot smaller. I think the chunkier, the bigger, the better. But again, I'll link it in the show notes, so if you're interested in adding this to your concoction of soil, you can do that. But I'm going to show you here. Hopefully you can kind of see, you know, it's a little bit more chunky. Basically, it is moisture retaining, but also allowing airflow because it's this like porous little rock here. So 50% of your potting mix, 50% of your orchid bark, and then sprinkle some perlite into that, and you know, just kind of eyeball it. So like you can see that this soil says that there's perlite in there, but it's very small pieces and there's not a lot of it. That's why you want to add it. So I'm going to take my soil, I'm going to take a handful of orchid bark, sprinkle some perlite in it, and I'm going to mix it up. You can already see the chunkiness. And then again, I'm not going to show you the recipe. This is not the video for that, but I just kind of wanted to give you an idea of what it looks like of the soil that I mix, that I sell to people. And you can get the visual of like if you add even more chunky stuff, what it would look like, what the aeration would look like. This has a lot more ingredients in it. You see, it's more husky. I have the orchid bark. I actually also have like the little chips here that are actually reptile chips, like that you would put in a reptile terrarium. I add that in there too. Pieces of, like, these are the cocoa husky type chips that I do. I do the orchid bark, the perlite, the pumice. And so that's what that looks like. You can see. All right, so this is the potting soil by itself. So this is just straight from the bag, the cactus fast draining mix. So you can see I'm just kind of putting it in there. You can kind of see. That's not bad. It's really not that bad, but we can make it better. And so here is the mix that we made. And so I do feel like the flow of it was very similar. I'll add a little bit more. And you may have to find with the chunkier pieces that you're really having to kind of like go around like that. That's okay. The key to this is these chunks in here are adding spaces so that air can get to the roots. And then this is the mix that I make. So you can kind of compare it to what I have here. Don't feel pressure to use this. If you're doing your best, that's all that matters. But I've really highly encouraged just adding the orchid bark to start with. And then you can always work your way up to like a more intense, unless you just like making like concoctions. And then of course this is your jam. You can see the difference. Do you see the difference in that? Like, that was insane how fast that goes. I mean, obviously there's less in there too, so, you know, keep that in mind. But the whole thing is moist. Look at that. The whole thing is moist. So if you're interested in that recipe, let me know in the comments and I'll do a video for you. Oh God, it just burped. I just want to do it one more time. I'll do these two together and then, you know, it's always nice to have that like extra. Okay, I need to say it one more time, Jessica. I need to say it one more time. So, I'm not hating this cactus mix on its own. I'm really quite impressed with it. I've used it before, but I've never like done it visually in front of my face like this, and so like I'm actually quite impressed with it. However, please add orchid bark to your mix. Your plants will thank you for it. There you have it. And that's it for today's video. I really hope it was helpful. If you found value in it, please let me know by giving me a thumbs up and sharing me with a friend. I've linked all of the products that I use in the show notes for you, so if you want to check those out, you can do so. Those are my affiliate links. I do get paid a very small commission if you choose to shop through those links, but there's no pressure if you choose not to. Yeah, but that helps me out a little bit. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments. If I don't know the answer, I will do my very best to find it for you. Also, if you have any tips and tricks that you would like to share with us on how you amend your soil, please also leave those in the comments. I would like to read and find out what it is that you like to do to grow happy and healthy plants. Don't forget to give yourself some love this week and, of course, buy yourself a plant. I will see you in the next video.